Welcome everyone. We are here in SOLIDWORKS. We are going to be covering a couple items in our section of instruction, or these different chapters of instruction here. We're going to cover exploding this guide rod assembly. We're going to be creating a drawing file from this assembly and putting views on it, inserting a bill of materials, creating a revision table, and lastly, of course, doing any needed annotation. So let's go ahead and get started. Let us cover a few of the basic items. One of the things that have been mentioned in the past is that whenever we explode this assembly and put that exploded view on a drawing, there is kind of a slight bug in some past versions of SOLIDWORKS. It may also be in the current version, that only standard views can be appropriately annotated on a drawing for what are called item balloons. So that means that we need to explode this drawing in the same view orientation that we want to see it on the face of the drawing. And that is going to be isometric. So I can explode this kind of view cube preview, see the view cube, and I can select the name isometric, which is great. Takes a number of clicks, and a shortcut would be to simply hit the space bar and click on the appropriate isometric face on the view cube. And I'm back to isometric. So where does this exploded view take place? If we notice up here above our history tree, we actually have 6 different icons. So we have, you may have 5. We have our design or history tree, we have a property manager, we have our configuration manager, which is what we are going to be very interested in. So if I click on this configuration manager, we can see that there's the name of the file, a default view, and kind of an outline set of arrows. So I can either collapse or expand this outline of views, and notice in my file I have this exploded view 1. I'm working in a completed file, so I can right click on explode view 1, click explode, and SOLIDWORKS will automatically explode that view for me. So of course this is the process that we're going to go through, is this step-by-step explosion. To collapse this view again, I right click on explode view and execute the collapse toggle, right? Notice before it said explode, now it says collapse, and I collapse it. One of the key things to understand is that whenever you look at your configuration manager, you only want to see the exploded views that you want, and we'll cover that in a little bit later. But if you look at this and see explode view 1, explode view 2, explode view 3, know that that's an issue that was created with some faulty workflow. All right, so let's see, what do we want to do next? I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get started. So to create a new exploded view, I'm going to right click, and I have the option to say new exploded view here. Notice I could also add a derived configuration, but let's stay focused here. New exploded view. I'm going to hit escape a couple times. There's another way, and that's on the assembly tab or assembly menu bar, is simply this command called exploded view. It has three subcommands. Let me get back out of that. It has 3 subcommands: exploded view, explode line sketch, and we're going to cover that, and insert edit smart explode lines. An awful lot of words for do something automatically for me. We want a new exploded view, so I'm going to click on exploded view here. And now I'm in my property manager right here. This is where SOLIDWORKS goes when I start a command. I'm going to go back to the configuration manager and show you the result. If I expand this now, I have still explode view 1. Well, normally I would see explode view 1 and explode view 2. I think once I finish a few steps, we will see it. So I'll go back to the property manager showing that, kind of move this up. All right. So at this point, SolidWorks is sitting here waiting for me to execute explode step 1. I'm going to select an object. I'm going to drag it on the face of the screen. And when I'm done with that particular explode step 1, I'm going to select a box down here that says done. So let's kind of take a step and do that on a few of these. So I have clicked into this blue box, and I'm going to check one more checkbox down here in the properties of select sub-assembly parts. And for your project, you want this selected as well. So I'm going to move a number of objects back. I'm going to leave my guide in its fixed location, and so I'm going to move everything else back. So I'm going to click on the rod, press Control, click on the plate, and on this subpart of the assembly, this subpart of the assembly. And these 4mm screws. And I'm going to make an attempt to select the flathead screw as well. And notice I'm expanding my history tree right here on the face of the drawing, and I also select that flathead screw. And notice if I select it on my history tree, it also selects in the full file. So let's see if I can get back to my isometric view. And I have not lost that. Now notice there is a Z arrow, an X arrow, a Y arrow, and a couple circles, 1, 2, and 3. So I can move this object, or these set of objects, in 3 directions or rotate it about 3 axes. We want to move it about this Z axis, and so I'm simply going to click and drag until I see some daylight between the end of the shaft and the guide. And I'm going to bring it back about so far and let go. So now notice over in the properties there is an exploded step 1, and I have this option to click done. So here's something that's very not intuitive about how this explode process works. Every other command that we expect to finish in SolidWorks, I expect to either hit enter or the green check mark. And in this particular case, if I do that, I accept this particular exploded step, finish and exit the entire explode environment. And I don't want to do that. I want to keep exploding steps right here in this one particular view. So I'm going to click done. I pan this. I'm going to leave it in this isometric view. So now I'm going to take, let's see, these 2 flange bolts and extend the M up. Pretty straightforward. Select a part, Control and hold, select the next part. I'm going to use the Y value, and I'm going to drag them up till I visually see them, again, back kind of out of the way of any other parts. And repeat by click done. So we're starting to see this repetitive process. What I want to highlight now is I'm exploding these objects, control selection, in a way that they move when they are disassembled. So as an example, these 2 3mm screws don't go up and to the right, they would assemble from this direction. So I'm exploding in the direction of disassembly. Okay, I'm going to click done. And on your own, I will let you explode these other parts back here. I would suggest leaving the pneumatic cylinder as an assembly and just explode both parts further back. There's one last topic I'd like to cover here, and that's these 3mm screws. So I'm going to select all 6 of these. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can make that selection. And sure enough, I kind of ended up selecting part of the guide, and I definitely don't want that. And even worse than that, for some reason, I hit escape. I just did it. I hit escape and I exited my exploded view mode. So that was actually a perfect mistake to make. So let's close this off at this point. I will come back in the next section and show us how to recover from that error and how a plane can be defined to pull these 3mm screws out. Hope this is working, and we'll see you in the next section.